some people are accustomed to say it every day before the afternoon prayer. And that has some great foundation of the secret part of the Torah. And it says, God, you're the master of the world. You're one, and you cannot be counted. You're the highest of all high. You are hidden from, no thoughts could grasp onto you. And then it says, you are the one who originated 10 attributes. So that's where we find this concept of the 10 sfirot. To lead the world that we don't know, the secret world, and the world that we do know, the world that we see, the revealed worlds, you are leading your entire world through these 10 attributes. Why does God needs to lead the world through these 10 attributes? Through these 10 attributes, what the point of these 10 attributes? So we know that Hashem Chassidus explained to us how God is infinite, and we say in the prayer every day before the morning prayers, we say, God, Atahu Mishenivra Olam, V'Atahu Achar Shenivra Olam. You're the one who is the same before the world was created and is the same after the world was created. What does that mean? You say God is one. It's the same God. What does it mean? You're the one before the world was created and you're the one after the world was created. That means that God has not changed because he created the physical world. God is infinite. And God has not changed through creation physical world. That didn't create any limits in them. It's not like you say, okay, I am like right now on the top of the mountain. I got to go down to the bottom of the mountain. I cannot be on the top of the mountain, the bottom of the mountain at the same time. We say that no, God can be in the top of the mountain, the bottom of the mountain at the same time. Meaning the same infinite God who created the finite world did not have to become finite in order to create finite world. God is infinite. God remains infinite. The creation of the world did not have any impact on him. God is the life of the world. Like you could say, the soul is the life of my body. Anything happens to my body impacts my soul. So if I get hurt, my soul feels it. And I have a hard time focusing, I have a hard time understanding, thinking. My soul, the life, the energy from my body are connected together where the body impacts the soul. God is the soul of the world. But nothing that happens in the world has an impact on God. Okay, so God is infinite. How does the infinite God create finite world? So God is doing it through these 10 attributes. And these 10 attributes are channels that are connectors that connect us with God and connect God with us. Enables God to remain infinite and still, for us, finite human being, to connect it to this infinite God the way he contracted himself and lowered himself through these 10 attributes. And these 10 attributes, those are our method to connect with God. Now that's within the world. But it says God created man in the image of God. So meaning that everything that is in the world is within man. So these 10 attributes that the Kabbalah discusses exist also within the human being as well. And that's what the 10 attributes are. This is what the 10 characters are. And when we're talking about working on the 10 midot and the 10 attributes, this is what we're talking about, these 10. So our personality, our self, is who we are. The faculties of our soul, they call it 10 faculties. is who we are. The Tanya goes in length and talk about it. And in general, we are divided to two. There's two parts to ourselves. There's two parts to our personalities. There is our intellect part, our intellectual part, what we call mochim. And there is our, not our intellect part, there's our emotions part. It's a part of our emotions. And then within the 10 sfirot, you also have, within the last 7, you have the emotions, and then you have action. Action is malchut, is the last attribute that where everything starts in the mind, everything is developed in the person's mind. You see something which is outside you, you desire it, whether it's a nice house, it's a nice car, whatever it is a desire to something, we observe it with our mind. And then, we observe it with, after we observe it in our mind, we have to process it. We're processing it through our emotions. Oh, I understand that this is a nice car, and why it would be good for me. Now I develop love to it. Oh, I have fear of something that I'm thinking about, whatever that may be. And once I thought about it, it comes into my heart, it comes into my feelings, and then I have fear of that thing. But if I don't know about it, or even if I know about it, I'm not thinking about it. Let's say, now everybody's dealing with financial problems. And a lot of people, not everybody, a lot of people dealing with financial issues. With 20 million people are unemployed. So it's a hard time. So you want to tell a person, how am I dealing with this fear that I have, this financial times, or this health fear of these health problems that are here in the world? And the fear is there. Why is the fear there? Because, it's there. Can't do anything about moving it away. It's the reality that we're dealing with. But if I don't want this fear to lock me away from being creative, from being effective at what I do, to continue to see what I can do about the situation, I have to not think about this. Yes, it's there. Yes, it's within my faculties, within my soul. I know it's there. But if I don't think about it, if I don't bring it in to the level of thoughts, speech, and action, then it's somewhere in there. I could eliminate it, and I could be productive in the doing and seeing what am I doing about the situation rather than remaining in the fear. So this is how the process works within myself. This is how myself works. Chassidus explained to us that myself works with, and this is a teaching that going 100 years ago, going back all the way to Matan Torah, to the giving of Sinai, and revealed to us in last few hundred years, and through the Arizal, Rabbi Isaac Luria, and then later on, who made it more accessible. Obviously, we're going back to the Rashbi, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, but it made it more accessible to us, by Rabbi Isaac Luria, then more so by the Baal Shem Tov, and then the Alter Rebbe. So they just tell us this is how your self work. If you think about something, there's 3 aspects into your thought. Into the intellect. Within our intellect, we have our wisdom, we have our understanding, and we have our knowledge, which is a Chabad, the acronym for the word Chabad. Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat. Chokhmah is where everything begins, where I start thinking, start developing, the ideas develop all in Chokhmah. As it is explained, that Chokhmah is like a light, like a lightning, that it's like you're trying to understand something, an idea, or something, a very hard math problem, something you're working on, a piece of Gemara, Talmud, and you're thinking, working your brain, and suddenly you get the idea. Suddenly, I got it. I got the I know what the answer to the problem is. but it's not been developed yet. That's chokhmah. And it's actually a combination of the word koch ma. The Hebrew word chokhmah is the word koach ma, which means the power of nothing, because it's a very, very small lightning, like it comes and goes. Now it has to be developed into bina, to understanding, to be brought more into details. But it can all remain in this aspect. And it cannot, if I don't use the third aspect of the Chabad, if I don't use my dat, if I don't use my knowledge, which means dat is connection, if I don't use my connection to it, if I don't connect with what I know, then it could remain in the realm of knowledge, some theory. They're talking about Aristotle, that they once saw him, I think, eating in a very, very unmannered way. And they asked him, "Are you Aristotle?" He said, "No, I'm not Aristotle. You know, I'm eating. You know, I'm like, it's not, I'm not Aristotle." So you could be very smart and very wise. You can know a lot of things, but they may not necessarily have any impact on our lives. If you want the thing to be impactful, if you want to have an impact on our life, we need to connect to the ideas that we study. We need to think about, how does it apply to me? How do I apply it to, to my life? How would I know is applied to my life? And by the way, it's part of the service of davening, which is considered a service of the heart. To serve Hashem with our heart, davening, is to contemplate about God's greatness and God's interaction involved with the world, the unity of God, and so on and so forth. And now, how is this knowledge, thinking, how is this connected to my life? How does it impact me? So, from that point on, it comes to I have to bring it to my emotion and develop love to what I know, develop maybe awe of the king, awe of God, awe of the king, awe of fear of whatever that may be. And then, once I have this in my inner self, now I gotta give this all expression in my thoughts and speech and knowledge. Meaning is, it's not enough if I love my spouse and I feel love, I have to also express it in my thoughts, because expression in my thoughts is revealing it to myself. In my speech, telling my spouse that I love you, and in my action, doing something for my spouse. So the intellect is sort of the antenna, okay? It helps us take the things from the outside and observe them, and then decide what to do with the information that we get. We see things on the outside and we bring them into our inside. And the big rule of Chassidut, Hasidic teaching teaches, the Alter Rebbe, especially in Tanya, teaches that men were born in a way where mind controls the heart. Our mind rules over the heart. Interesting, our animals walking on four legs, created by walking, they look down. Men, and they were also created in a way where the heart and mind is in the same level, so to speak. They're driven by instinct. But human being was created in a way where his mind is above his heart. We have the natural, the Rebbe says in Tanya, we were born with the natural ability and capability to control our heart, to control our emotions. So yes, we know that the fear is out there. We know that the problems are out there, health problem, wealth problem, whatever it is, but we can control it, and we cannot let it come into our emotions right now, so we won't be overwhelmed, and we're able to now take this information from, it's there, sort of the subconscious, but we don't bring it into our Gevil mind. And there are many self-help books that talk about this, how today you can control anything with your mind. It's all about what you think. You are the one who determine the results, the outcome of where you go, all begin with what we think about. It's all begin with our mindset. So, and this is basically a Hasidic teaching. It was taught, hundreds of years ago. That it's all begin with the mind. Give a practical example because we all want to see how we can practically apply it into our action, our day-to-day life. You're coming to work and you haven't planned your day, the day before and the night before, and you come in and be completely overwhelmed. I got so many things to do. I got this, and you can pick up the phone and you can reach the email and you can go to your papers and you can start grabbing from like what we call shooting in all directions. That's emotions of fear, of love. Why? The knowledge is where you see in your mind, you see all this work, you see all these emails, you see all these calls waiting for you, you see all these papers on your desk, and you took this from the outside, you brought it to your inside and translated it into chaos. Translated it into, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's what your mind can control. And your mind can say, I got it. I observe the information. Now I put it aside. And I start breaking it in and look at what I have to do. Not starting and not jumping into action. Because it's one of the biggest problems we have when it comes into the office every day. Is like, we want to start doing but we haven't done it the night before. We must take the time to think about what we're going to do, set up priorities, and set up order, put it in order to this chaos. This is the mind that controls the heart. So the heart and the emotion says, go here, go there, go everywhere. The mind says, take a few deep breath, relax, start making a list. Make a list, not of 25 things you have to do today, but maybe 5 things, the most important 5. Who do you have to call today? Who are you waiting to hear from today that if you don't hear from them, you need to make a call to them? What are the projects you have to bring forward today? And you start prioritizing them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and setting up a time next to each one. This takes 20 minutes, this takes 30 minutes, and now you have your day, so to speak, set up. And now, we were just able to exercise control over our emotions. So the emotions is our respond to the events. We observe the information, we understand it, we only start responding once it comes into our emotions. Once we feel that we have a problem, so I say we could respond in chaos, but we could also respond in order. I understand there is a problem. Now, in order for me to start doing something about it, I need to feel it. And what's connect the mind and the emotions is the that part, the last part of the intellect, which is understanding, connecting the understanding with what I need to do, and now figuring out what I'm doing about it. That's where the emotions comes into responding to the situation. So here we go into chesed. Chesed, kindness, is the first emotion, says, someone called me, they need help. I'm leaving everything I'm doing, I'm going to help them, forget about my family, forget about my life, forget about everything else, I'm not going to sleep, I'm not going to eat, I'm just going to, save the world. That's what chesed says. Comes the other midah, gvura, the second midah, which is, more of a judgment, more of a, what you call severity, and says, relax, you have to worry about yourself. You have to care about yourself. You have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to do this, you need to worry about your family, you need to. But gvura could be too strict to the other side and said, you have no time to help the other person. But you need so much time for yourself. Comes the third midah tiferet, mercy, and says, okay, it is the combination between the two, those two extreme ones. Here is the combination. You're going to take time for yourself, But you're also going to take time to help another person. It's going to be a balance, creating the balance. That's tiferet, making the balance, not going to extreme here, extreme there. And once you figure out what you're going to do, you respond in your emotions. Now you apply it into action. That's the last attribute of Malchut. And we also have the last three midot after Chesed, kindness, Gvura, judgment, Tiferet, mercy. We have Netzach, Od, and Yesod. And it's an image of a body. It's like really an image of a body. We have the intellect in the top, then you have the right arm, Chesed, the left arm, judgment. Then you have the right arm, which is Netzach, endurance, and Od, glory, on the left arm, and Yesod, foundation, and then Malchut all the way at the bottom, which represent in the feet, which represent action. The function of Netzach and Od is they are connecting your feelings and bringing them down into the world of action, to the doing. Netzach, Od, and then Yesod and Malchut is a connection. We'll learn more about this in a later class, but just in very brief, that's the system of the creation. I mean, that's the system of our inner self, the system of the creation. Really, that's how it works by our inner self. Now, the last things that I want to tie it back to is to what we started with. I will conclude with this thought, with this idea. The work of the midot to refine ourselves, to work on ourselves, how to respond to my life events, to respond properly in the way that I want to respond. You could go about it two ways. You could go about it in the way of focusing on the negative. I have ego, I need to break my ego. I have anger, I need to work on my anger. And focus on each one of these and know how bad they are, and study and learn and read books how bad they are and eliminate yourself from them. Or you could go about it in a different way. You go about it and thinking, and how could I take my midot and respond positively? Meaning is, once I know, and once I realize I have a purpose in this world, God sent me to where I am for a reason. And as the Baal Shem Tov said, God brings to us the things that have to come to our life coming our way. So if you happen to have a conversation with someone, you think this conversation is so irrelevant, why am I listening? God brought this conversation to you. There's something you can learn from this conversation. There's something you saw, went outside, you saw something going on. There's something God brings us to the places that we need to be, to the jobs that we need to be, to see the things we need to see, to hear the things we need to hear. And all of those are connected to the mission of my life, to the mission of my soul in this world. Now, I know that I'm not looking to work on the symptoms here. I'm not looking to work on the problems of the anger or ego or this or that. I'm looking in to the root of the thing. How do I fix all of this? And the answer is, how do I look at myself? And if I start looking at myself and view myself in a way that everything that happens in the world that happens for a reason, happens for a purpose, and I have a mission, then it matters how I respond to these events. No matter what is my response through my thought, my intellect, through my emotions, and through my action, what I'm going to do about it. It matters because it has to do with the mission of myself, of my soul. So I want to correct myself. I want to react the way God wants me to react. It's important because that's my mission. So fixing the midot, correcting my midot, meaning responding to the events by responding in a different way, responding in a positive way, responding in the way God wants me to respond. And instead of dealing with each negative aspect of each one of these midot, I am going to the problem, to the root of all the issues. What is the root of all the issues? The root of all the issues is me being distant from my mission on earth, me being distant from God, me not realizing and understanding that God put me here for a reason, for a purpose. We all preparing the world for the coming of Mashiach, making the world a better place. We are all on a journey towards the end, began with the beginning of the creation, and it will fulfill its purpose with the coming of Mashiach. And I'm making everything that I do in my day, in my life, is part of that work of preparing myself, my family, and the world for Mashiach. Everything that happens is divinely designed. There's nothing bad happens in the world. Everything comes from God, and everything has a purpose and a reason. And once I know that, I realize that if I come closer to Hashem, everything else is going to fall into place. When I'm far from Hashem, when I am far from my mission in life, my mission in earth, then I respond whatever way I want to respond, whatever I feel like. I feel responding this way, respond that way. I feel being angry, I feel being jealous. It's all, who cares how I respond? What does it matter to how I respond if I get angry? If I'm jealous in someone, if I fight with somebody, if I speak gossip about, who cares? Once you realize, yes, it's all part of the mission and the purpose. And if I realize the more that I'm connected with God, the more I'm in tune to God and to my mission, the more I understand how important is my response to these different events. And now I'm dealing with that in the positive way, not looking negatively at myself. I'm looking at what I could do. Each one of my response, each one of my action, each one of my thoughts matter to God, matter to the world, could make the world a better place. In order to connect to God, what do I need to be doing? In order to strengthen my connection to God and to feel God in my life and therefore to become a better person, what do I need to be doing? I need to study Torah. Because if I study Torah, I connect to God. And within the study of the Torah, put a great emphasis, there is a Talmud, there is a halacha, but put great emphasis of the part of the Torah that talks to the part of my soul, to my inner part of my soul, where my inner part of God is. Because the soul is part of God. Our soul has a part of God in it. To reveal that inner part of the soul, it's being revealed through the study of the inner part of the Torah, which is the secret part of the Torah, which is the teaching of Kabbalah and the teaching of Hasidus. So one of the things that helps me, myself personally, to remind myself of being closer to God is study this part of the Torah, because it talks about that everything is connected to God. It talks about the unity of God, that God is involved with everything in the world. And praying. Because when I say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, when I say God is one, then I know the one means Aleph is the one God, 7, Chet is 8, represent the 7th heaven and earth. The God is everywhere, and the Dalet represent the 4 corners of the earth, because each letter is a number. So it's bringing God into all aspects of creation, into all aspects of my life, into all the world, and realize God is involved with everything. And then my response matters, my response make a difference, and I look at it in a very positive way. I realize how important I am, how important is my mission, and the way I deal with the world, is very significant. So open it up to any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, anybody wants to add anything, please, by all means, you can unmute yourself. and feel free to, to have questions, conversation, anything in your mind, examples, etc.
No, thank you, Rabbi. I appreciate it.
Good to see you, Albert. We're going to continue the next couple of weeks also with more examples and more things of talk about more about each one of these attributes and how you could implement it in our lives.
I will be there. It's nice to see your father-in-law. I'm glad he's okay.
Baruch Hashem.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Howard, how are you?
Yeah, good. Everything is still fine.
Baruch Hashem.
To see you again.
Yes. Everything is good. You're managing, still working from home?
Yeah.
Let me see a second. Okay, let's just, I don't think I get because still doing the recording.
I have that still recording.
What is that?
I have an indicator on that says it's still recording.
Yeah, I have my the student that is doing our social media and part dealing with it, and she's exactly now in a final. So I don't know if we could end this recording. So.